Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of Quizzy Monday for this current series. It's good to be back. We've got a great roster of guests for you today. We've got Rachel and Thea from the Stitchers from Only Connect. We have Callum and Will from University Challenge, plus special guest Liam Thom. Actually, there's another one actually from the Aberdeen team as well. So we'll introduce you to those a little bit later. We've got, of course, towards the end of the show, we've got the news from the world of quiz, the nominees for Quizzer and Team of the Week. So all of that's coming up. But first, this week, the world of quiz has been overshadowed by the news of the death of Didier Bruyere, and it is not really fitting or appropriate if we were to leave that to the end. So we're starting off by talking about Didier. Didier was the 2022 World Quiz Champion, the reigning World Quizzer of the Year, twice a World Quiz Championship runner-up, sixth in the EQC in 2015, seventh at the Olympiad, rarely out of the world's top 10. You can see him here in a picture. Didier is second from the right there, surrounded by other world champions, Olaf Bjorton, Pat Gibson, and Ronnie Swiggers. I last saw Didier at the British Championships in September last year. He came second to Pat Gibson that day by a single point in playing in his second language on a very British-oriented paper. His ability to compete at the top level in his second language was remarkable. He was second in the grand final of Mastermind in 2013. He competed on Only Connect as a member of the Enophiles. He was an absolutely superb quizzer. Sorry, bear with me. My mouse is playing up. Putting his quizzing achievements to one side, he was just a lovely guy with a fantastic sense of humour. I got to know him well in 2011 when we went to Bruges for the European Championships. We travelled to Tartu the following year together. In 2013, he put together the individual quiz for the Celtic Nations Championships for me. He asked for no reward. I never heard of him turning anyone down. And since the news of his passing, it's emerged that he wrote quizzes for competitions around the world. He said very little about his illness in public. He wasn't someone to make a fuss. He was a kind, generous, humble man. He will be sorely missed by everyone who knew him, and I will definitely miss seeing him again. Didier Bruyere, we raise a glass to you. You were an absolutely fantastic quizzer, a fantastic person, more importantly. Before we move on then with the rest of the show, let's just say thank you to our patrons. Huge thanks to our community of All Things Quiz members. Your support helps us to keep this channel going. It pays for essential running costs. Now, if you want to become a member of All Things Quiz, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/allthingsquiz. And from £3 a month, you not only get to support the work of this channel, but there are a range of member benefits available, including our monthly quiz. Hope to see you soon. I could see some comments, people reacting to that news about Paul. Some unaware, I think. Gerard, not aware of that news. It is terrible. Gerard, you knew Didier as well. So you'll be shocked, as we all were, when we heard about this during the middle of the week. Miles saying, RIP Didier, amazing quizzer. He will be missed. And Michael, who also knew Didier, he'll be much missed. Absolutely great bloke. Genuinely lovely person, as well as being one of the best quizzers in the world. And we know what is more important. Being a genuinely lovely person is way more important than being one of the best quizzers in the world. But it did make you happy when you saw him do well, because he was such a great guy. So, moving on, we turn our attention to Quizzy Monday, and I'm delighted to bring onto the stream Rachel and Thea from the Stitchers on Only Connect. Good evening, all.
Hi.
It's great to have you with us. That performance was quite something. In your wildest dreams, did you think that your first appearance on a TV quiz show was going to go quite that well?
Definitely not. No, we were surprised we were getting any points at all, to be honest. Yeah. We didn't really have those expectations.
We were just like surprised to be on the show generally, because like we applied once before and not got on. So when we did get on, we were like, you know what, we're gonna be there for one day, we're gonna have the best day. So we were like filming everything, taking photos of everything, being like, let's have one chance. And then we did well. We were like, oh, like, it was genuinely, I think we're just so happy to be there. Like, it was crazy.
Do you have a certain freedom when you go there with zero expectations and just the joy of playing the game, having the opportunity to be in that studio?
I think so. I think we were treating it like being on holiday as well, because it was during our uni terms, so we were just sort of very excited to be doing something new. And yeah, because we didn't really set any expectations for ourselves, I think we managed to kind of have a bit more fun with it because it was just all so exciting.
Yeah, it was kind of less stressful maybe, because I definitely didn't go into it being like, we have to win this. I was like, oh, it's so cool that we're just in a hotel this morning. We were like, I think we were most of that the day before, we were just mostly excited about the hotel breakfast. We talked about it. We were so excited. That was honestly the day had peaked almost too early.
And the robes and the slippers in the hotel rooms.
Well, no, you were the only. So
I didn't get robe or slippers.
The hotel we were in, it only gave Lizzie, who's the other person on our team, she got a robe and slippers, and neither me or Rachel got anything. And we went to her room, we were like, and it was like a real power dynamic. It was like, even the second time we came down, only like the distribution of those things. Anyway, so I think we were more invested in the holiday aspect in certain ways. It was really fun.
I mean, you take the wins when you can get them, particularly, when somebody else is paying. Free hotel breakfast. That's good. You chalk up $9.99 in your favour at least. We heard that you'd never quizzed together before, but you'd watched it like on TV together whilst you're at university. What makes you think, what makes you go from watching it together and throwing out the odd answer to applying not once but twice to be on the show?
I don't know where the idea to actually apply came from.
I think that might have been my fault, because my dad's really good at the show, and I used to watch it at home with my family, and I'd always ask my family to apply with me, and my dad was like, no, and I was like, okay. So I think I was always in the back of my mind, I was like, because I think, I don't know, I think it's just after we watched it a certain amount of times, like we kept doing okay when we were watching it, and we were like, well, maybe it's worth to go.
Because we'd watch it as a 3. I think at some point we thought, there's a lot of 3s on this show. You have to be in a 3. We're a 3. And then it just went a lot further along than we thought it would. I mean, the first time round when we got through to getting like interviewed, like the kind of audition for it, that was already a shock. And then we were asked to apply again this time round, and we thought, well, if they want us to, we'll do it. Whereas the first time round it was just a bit funny, and then this time round we thought, oh, gotta take it a bit seriously now, I guess.
Yeah.
So you clearly got decent organic chemistry between you, having watched and played it together, knowing each other pretty well. But did you prep for going on the show?
No. We watched Only Connect. I think we watched an episode in the hotel room the night before we went on.
Our strategy was, because, like, as I say, the way we got on the show is we used to watch it at lunchtime. So when we ended up getting on the show, because we all were in the hotel the night before, we just watched together the episodes that were sort of on iPlayer at that time. So like 2 or 3 episodes. But that was partly like revision, and also partly because we just enjoyed doing it. But I think we just didn't want to like actually revise, because the fun of it is like if you already know something, or like, I don't know. I think I remember you saying, Rachel, that it's like the fun thing about quizzing is if you already know it. It's not like if you sit down and rote learn it, it stops being fun.
Exactly, yeah.
Interesting approach, bearing in mind there's the potential for national humiliation, which you fantastically avoided. Michael is a former series semi-finalist. Great performance on what was a tough set of questions on OC. Potentially could be the start of a good run in the competition. No spoilers, but we know that you must have at least 2 shows now, I think, to go. So at least something of a run. But it was a great performance. But starting, it felt like it was tough to get any points on the board. Were you worrying early on in that round? I think it was.
I was really annoyed about the first question, because I think as it came across, I got the answer like a second after the time had ended. And I was just there, like, literally one of my friends was watching it, text me being like, the way you look so devastated after not getting one. So that was, I think that really knocked us. I think, yeah, as soon as we got a point, I felt a lot better. But like after not getting that one, I was like,
I think even the points we did get, the first few ones, was a lot of guesswork. I think like the one about the the football measurements. I watching that today, I don't know what was going through our heads that we went straight to football, because I was watching my family and they were like, is it the brain? Is it the heart? And I was like, we never even considered
I think
anything
we said
outside, which was so weird. Because
I think we said balloon maybe, because then there was like a little joke in studio because they said bowling ball and we said balloon, and Victoria's like, neither of you know what density is at all, or like what weight is at all. Like, that's
Yeah, but you have to think on your feet, don't you? And as you're going along, just throw stuff out to see if anything flies. Because I think my first thought was that I said was bowling ball, which is ridiculous because you can't inflate a bowling ball. Plus, they're a darn sight heavier than like half a kilo. But you do just kind of have that thought process, and then it leads you eventually, you hope, to the answer, which in your case was curiously over-specific. But
I didn't know who we thought we were giving extra football details on that question.
We're clearly the football experts on that show.
Yeah, like,
if you line the teams up, you're like,
like,
those guys know what they're doing when it comes to football.
Yes, it was a football up until they introduced the Jabulani, and then after that, it was a slightly different pressure. No, it was a really good answer actually, because unless you can mentally visualize circumferences of things, you're making a very good educated guess. So so that was good work. You had a very good first round, as it turned out, and at 5-0, I mean, I'm sure you're not feeling sorry for the opposition. You're probably more thinking there, but for the grace of God, go I. But you know, what is your sense at the end of round one when you got a 5-0 lead?
I think, as you can kind of tell in the episode, it was like a very giggly relief. I think we couldn't quite believe it, and we started finding lots of things very funny because of how like hyped up we got about the like just getting any questions right. I think it all got quite surreal because our like idea going into the show had been, we'll just see what happens. When we saw that the other team were getting 0, we kind of couldn't believe what was going on.
Yeah, I think that's true.
So when you're saying you're giggly, I mean, we know it pretty much plays through as it's, you know, as you see it on TV. But was this one of those shows where there were interruptions?
I think not so much interruptions as like when the other team, like when they have their question and they're conferring, so the camera's on them. We've got the same kind of amount of time to do our conferring as well, but our conferring was a lot of just laughing because like, we just couldn't really. I think because we were so kind of overwhelmed with what was going on. I'm quite glad the mics didn't pick up like how silly some of our guesses actually were if they've been.
There was one in like, it's not this episode, but it's like a later episode where we did just like end up collapsing into laughter like during the conferring period, and I don't know if that's going to be like shown, but it was. I hope they do. It was very unprofessional. Like the other team were conferring, and I was
Victoria
just like
was concerned about us.
Yeah, I mean, she was like, "Why are you laughing? And is it safe for broadcast?"
It felt like being told off by a teacher.
It was. I was like,
got something to laugh about.
Yeah,
I think, and I hope, and I'm convinced, you will find that they're very kind at editing.
Yeah.
So it's not a show which will edit to make you look bad. I remember being on a show making one joke which absolutely landed, and then the next time I tried to make it, it was like tumbleweed, and they cut that out. And I was very, very grateful, but I spent quite a few months worrying about what they were going to include. So I think they're quite kind in that regard. But on the other hand, I do quite want to see you lot collapsing in laughter and being unable to get your answer out, and that'd be fun. Was there anything about being on the show that surprised you? That from having watched it at home to actually being in the studio, you thought, well, I didn't think it would be like that.
This is such a boring thing to say, but I was really surprised that the set where the wall is like in the same room but perpendicular to the set where you're sitting down. And I can't express how like surprised I was. I think because partly when we went to sitting down bit, the lights were off on the wall bit, so I didn't see it. We came back in, the lights were on, and I was like, oh, it was the same room all along. It was like a plot twist in my life, which is just the kind of like geography of it I found very surprising.
Yeah. Did they not even have a curtain to separate?
No, but I just still hadn't seen it. Like we've been filming a whole round, I just hadn't seen it at all. And then we came back with the lights on, and I was like, oh, that's the wall.
But there's not much to see, is there? Because it's effectively a TV screen, and then that kind of plinth where you answer. So there isn't actually that much to see. I can't remember if they even bring that
at the time. I kept being like, anything happened, I kept being like, oh, the magic of television. But everything was so exciting. I was like, I can't believe this.
Yeah, I mean, it is great if that's what you take away from a TV experience, because they're not all like this. Only Connect is particularly good in front of that. So that was great. So 5-0 at halfway. Round 2, geez, that numbers one. I mean, I'm just glazing over just looking at it now. I mean, I thought normally round 1 matches, the first round 1 match, I think they're normally so. Gentle's not quite the word, but the difference between the final that people remember and then the first episodes they see of the next series, people normally go, oh, it's dumbed down or whatever. It feels like the round 1's a bit tougher this year. Was it tougher than you imagined it would be?
I'm not sure. I think we'd kind of seen enough episodes like when we were watching together and got questions there that we felt like there would be some we would get. And I think because round 1 went so well, we were maybe a little more okay with not having a clue what all those numbers meant in round 2. I think we thought like, okay, we've kind of shown to ourselves that we've got here for a reason, sort of thing. That we felt a bit more comfortable and just like you said, glazing over. Like I think as soon as we saw numbers, we were like, no, we're checking out this one. Absolutely nothing to do with me.
Yeah, I also think with like the sort of general difficulty level, because as I said, like the only revision we did is we watched some episodes the night before, like in the hotel. And I think because of the way it fell in the year, like the ones we watched in the hotel were like the 2 semi-finals and the final.
Right.
So they were so difficult that when it got to the kind of like opening round 1, it did feel a little bit like it wasn't as hard as the ones we've been trying to do the day before. So at least for me, I was like, as soon as we got one right, I was like, okay, this actually isn't impossible. Whereas the ones we've been watching the night before were kind of so much harder that you could take, I don't know, it felt a bit different. But yeah, the numbers one, I felt like we were so close to it, but I just couldn't work out what was happening. I was quite annoyed at myself about that. Yeah.
I mean, I was nowhere near, and even when she explained it, I had to note it down and try and work out what she'd meant. Numbers and me, we're not friends, and I'm not proud of that. That's just the case. You had a very good round 2, though. Another 5 points, 10-2. Were there any questions that you particularly liked, answers that you particularly fond of in those first 2 rounds?
I really liked one that I liked a lot of the ones that we didn't get, which is maybe like I liked the very first one where it was the like horn spelling out thing, because I like a kind of cryptic crosswordy thing, which is why I was so like visibly upset we didn't get it. And I also really liked the like red, orange, yellow one. I thought it was really clever. But I don't know if I just remember those better because they're like ingrained into my mind as like, why didn't we get that? I did also like ones that we did get.
I think, well, the one from the first 2 rounds that stands out the most is the pina colada one, not least because that inspired our sort of post-show celebration. We all went out and we drank pina coladas, so that stayed in my mind the most, I think. Personally, I think one of my favorites was the music question we got in round 1 with Diamond, but just because I'm like such a big Pink Floyd fan, that the fact there was a Pink Floyd song felt like a little sign. I was like, okay.
I think it's like not really cut out, but like I didn't hear when during the deliberation, like I just heard you say Shine Bright Crazy Diamond, and then when you were like, oh, it's Shine Bright Crazy Diamond by Pink Floyd, I'm attention and be like, it was a Pink Floyd song. Like you were like, because it's just the coincidence of it was like, I can't believe, because I know that Rachel's a huge fan, it was just kind of crazy that it came up. And we had a few of those throughout the series where like stuff came up that was so specifically related to things we talked about. It felt kind of insane.
And we got really, really superstitious as we were filming. Everything felt like a sign. I think we were losing our minds, but it was the thrill of being in Cardiff. We kind of lost contact with reality completely. So I was taking the Pink Floyd as a sign. And then I think in one of our later ones, like, and any time that something like related to someone's like personal interest came up, we're like, okay, we're meant to be here.
Yeah, and like as the series went on, it's like anything that we'd been doing on an episode where it had gone well, we were like, we've got to do the same thing this time. Like we've got to, and it just it did. I think we were being a bit off-putting backstage.
Yeah, we got a bit, like, I guess we got into like, oh well, if I was wearing these earrings when we won in our first episode, then I've got to wear this. Well, I'm saying this was me. I was like, okay, what earrings was I wearing? Oh, and how did I how did I sit? Did I cross my legs? I was getting kind of silly levels.
Oh well, we've had some comments in the chat. Pina colada, particularly, and Thea. I mean, you're not on brand tonight, are you? You've got the fizz rather than the pina colada.
I didn't have the blender ready. I'm so sorry.
Pina colada was tough, says Michael. Knew the connection quickly, couldn't remember which verse it was. Gerard, if you weren't singing that, I'll be very disappointed because we know Gerard likes to sing. But also in the same in the music one, any question with Diamond Lights always gets thumbs up from me. So kind of for me, I got quite excited by Diamond Lights, and then when I heard Shine On You Crazy Diamond, it was like, yes, got that. So I agree with you on that. Gerard, contentiously, where is it? It's not coming up. Many thought the Pina Colada one should have been given.
It was tough.
I have no idea, because it's one of those things like, I just don't know the rest of the lyrics after that first line. So no, that was a good question. So you go into the wall 10-2. You obviously didn't see the Roadies wall until tonight, which felt a bit tricky.
Oh, we wouldn't have got.
If we'd had that wall, we would have been like dead. I don't
think we could have got any of them.
No.
Maybe the shapes.
I was doing okay with the Robbies, but then
Robbies.
What was it in the end? It was Robbie's shapes.
Baby animals.
Gas and young animals.
Yeah,
I spent a long time thinking it was parts of the eye and sort of.
I was on that parts of the eye wavelength.
The like pupil cone thing, but nothing.
Yeah, ditto. I mean, I kind of felt for them. It was tough again. There's a lot on the wall, which is, I guess, about technique and talking things through, and it can frazzle your brain. That thing, if you're getting nowhere, it's very easy to panic. And I think they stuck at it, but I did feel for them. You, on the other hand, made very short work of your wall. I thought very good. Apart from not knowing that Kiel was a canal.
Honestly, I was just watching it upstairs with my parents, and my dad kept being like, canal. He said it about 80 times. And I was like, Dad, I can't do anything. Like, I'm here. He's like, Kale. I was like, I can't help you. Like, I'm sorry we didn't.
Well, I mean, once it's all in the can, there's nothing you can do. But it was, you got 7 points on it. So you go into the missing vowels with an 11-point lead, and there's 12 points available. So you must have been feeling fairly confident at that point.
Yeah.
I think I was just still so like in the moment. I didn't really think about the like. I remember when we were outside waiting for their wall, I was doing the maths of like, if they get all the points, we get no points. What will the point difference be? And is that gettable in vowels and stuff? But by the time we got the vowels, I was just kind of like, I don't know. I wasn't, but I guess I wasn't as stressed as beforehand, obviously. I think none of us were.
Certainly not stressed, because wasn't it you, Thea, who was brilliant at the musical theatre set?
That was just like, again, like Rachel said, we were taking everything as a sign. That was like an absolute sign, because I love musicals, and I knew all of them. And I remember because we talked to the roadies afterwards, and they were like, "Oh, once musicals came up, like we knew it was game over." And I was like, "Once musicals came up, I knew it was the best thing that's ever happened to me." Like I was like, I couldn't believe it when it came up. It was like it was as if I'd written the round. So that was really, really exciting for me, and I was really just sort of going at it a little bit.
Chris to say getting Addy from.
I think you can see me like laughing. I think you see me like laughing when I say the answer, because I thought it was such a funny question. Like, I don't know, because it looks so stupid. I was like, Annie and Annie. That's what the whole show's for. Like, I just loved it.
Yeah, it was a great performance. It was a very strong performance. Aphrodisiacs, he drew 2-2, Nigella 1-1. Just great. 24-8. So I said at the start, kind of the scoreline of your dreams. And it's kind of, no matter what else happens now, you've won a match on Only Connect, and you've won it by that sort of score. How long did you have to wait before recording your next one? Because usually you record like 2 or 3, don't you, in a block? Was it that same weekend?
It was like 2 months, wasn't it?
Oh,
it was a really long time. Yeah.
So did you do anything, and having won one, did you kind of start up in your game in that regard, start discussing tactics?
I don't think we watched a single episode of Only Connect between leaving Cardiff and then being in the hotel room the next
Brilliant.
day.
It wasn't on anymore, so like
We weren't really serious training or anything. I think we just
Rocky style montage of like taking vowels out of words.
No, I love it. We just sort of went with what happened as our strategy, I guess.
Brilliant, love it. I love the way you approach it, because I think there are different ways of approaching a TV quiz. You can be very, very serious, and you can still go in it for fun, but attract the go for the tactics and whatever. And you just kind of went all in on having a good time with your mates by the sound of it, and turned out that you were very good at it. So what was your champagne moment, your favorite moment of tonight's episode, Rachel?
I don't think it went in on the final edit, but there was a bit just before we did our wall when Victoria like checked with us that we definitely hadn't quizzed before, and I think she was like extra impressed on our football knowledge, and we had this moment where we were like, is this how we're going to come across on the episode, that we suddenly know all these things about football? It was like a kind of like moment of clarity, being like, oh gosh, we've accidentally sort of shown knowledge in something we didn't think we would do. So I quite liked that as a sort of like a nice moment with Victoria, which we've been really excited about before going on the show anyway, but also like just a sort of boost of like, no, we kind of do have this, like we do know what we're doing a little bit, even if we feel like we don't. So that would be mine.
Wonderful. Thea, how about you?
I think, as I've already said, like the musicals coming up was like so exciting for me, because when I've been watching it at home, the vowels are like my absolute favorite bit. I'm always like itching to do the vowels. I also like historically, I don't like the wall very much. So when I was watching my parents like a few years ago, I'd always make the joke with the wall come on, I'd be like, not watching it, don't care. And the vowels would happen. I'd be like, oh, vowels. So like I was already really excited for the vowels, and then when it was something that I knew about, that was really exciting. Yeah, I think probably that, just because the like surprise of it, as like it just felt cosmic. I was like, it's meant to be. But the whole thing was like so fun. It was honestly one of the best weekends I've ever had. It was so fun.
Brilliant. For me, I loved the musicals thing as well, because I'm a big lover of musical theatre. I loved hearing Hoddle and Waddle. How can you get tired of that if you're of a certain age? But the thing I liked the most was when the roadies threw out monkey tennis as an answer. I love that. That just tickled me. Gerard has put a comment in, because Gerard likes a pun. The Stitchers did very well, needless to say. There you go. Pam is putting Gerard in his place. Yes, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you so much, Thea. Really delighted you could come on. I will be back in touch next time you're on. But for now, just bid you adieu and say thank you so much, and congratulations to the Stitchers.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, that was the brilliant Stitchers. In just a second, we will be bringing on our University Challenge folk. But before then, let's just catch up with the What is the Question competition. So last week's answer in need of a question was 4. And the winning answer voted for by you, the viewers and followers of the All Things Quiz YouTube channel, was fluorite, tomato juice, and a moderate breeze, are all represented by what number in their respective scales? Well done to Nick Reed, known as Nick from Masham on Twitter. This week's answer in need of a question is lion, and we have had something like 57 questions. And you can now vote. And I haven't actually got the link up here. We'll put it in the description, but also on our... It's WITQ, tinyurl.com/WITQ lion. We'll put the link, probably, Valerie, can you put that in the chat so people can see that? And we'll also have it on our Facebook and Twitter channels. So, yeah, that is What is the Question. Every Sunday morning, we release an answer in need of a question on Facebook, Twitter, and now, when we remember, Instagram and Threads, because we're down with the kids. So just put your answer in following that, and yeah, every Monday night they go out to a vote. On Wednesday, we'll compile a short list from your votes and your vote for the winner, and we'll announce it on Friday. So now, if my mouse will start working again, I got a new mouse because my old one was duff, and now this one doesn't want to work. So bear with me, just amuse yourselves whilst I unplug and replug in my mouse. There we go. I'm back. Technology. So now I'm glad to be able to welcome to the stream. We've got Will from. Say I'll be able to welcome him to the stream. We'll be able to welcome him to the stream if my mouse wants to work. I can move the thing, but I can't click. So I need to. Can you add Will to the stream, and can you add Callum, Liam, and Zach to the stream? There we go, and there we go. Good evening, all. Sorry about that. I'm having technical. Brand new mouse, ergonomic and wireless, and turns out it's droppy. So, welcome to all of you. So we've got Will, captain of Birmingham, and we've got Callum and Zach. And do you say you've got Liam there, or is he just lurking?
Liam is a friend of ours who kind of helped us prepare for the program. He just
I know Liam Thom. Liam Thom is probably off raising money for something. Even now, he's probably just decided to go and raise some cash. There he is.
There's about himself.
Just done a quick hike up Ben Nevis, have you, Liam? Just something like that?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Good to see you. Good to see you. Will is joining us from Venice.
Yeah, a bit more glamorous than Birmingham. And I've never been to Aberdeen, but I could. Yeah, I'll take that.
So Will, you haven't had the benefit of watching your team's episode tonight, I assume. So
I have not. No. I remember it though.
Doing it from memory
with mixed memories.
It was, I thought, a very entertaining match and very close for the majority of the game. Playing it, how aware were you of how nip and tuck it was?
I mean, obviously you've got the scoreboard in front of you, and when we met you guys in the backstage bit, we all sort of noticed that we did fairly similar subjects. So we were kind of, it's me against him, it's me against her, trying to work it out. And then I think towards the end, obviously we had a few mistakes. We just sort of, I don't know, I say panicked or just rushed, or it just didn't quite fall our way. Like we had a few literature and theatre sets, which was our big weakness. And, I got a history one wrong, which was a bit stupid. And you guys did really, really well, and I'm sure you'll go far in the competition, but it just wasn't our day, really.
Well, I mean, as I say, there has to be a loser in any UC match. They don't allow draws. But for a lot of the game, it was very tight. I think 130 to 125 with 5 starters to go. It was nothing in it. Trading blows. Callum and Zach, from your side of things, did you do that sort of kind of mentally matching up with the other team, thinking, how your relative strengths might play out?
I just remember before the episode actually started, we had a few practice questions just to kind of get us into the swing of it. And Birmingham absolutely destroyed us. So we were pretty worried at that point.
That was the real quiz, Will. That was the real one. I was interested. Callum, you were doing something medical. I forget what medical degree or something you were doing. Did you feel when questions came up on medical matters and then later the DNA thing, a particular pressure to the one everybody was looking at and kind of this is your thing?
I'm not going to lie, there was that additional pressure to those sorts of questions. I mean, even when I'm playing in online leagues, there is that pressure. But it's one of those things that the first bonuses were on the human body. I just had a wee giggle, just had going, let's see if we can put this to the test. And I have a degree in biomedical science, so I was just trying to see if I could apply it to the PCR and all those sorts of questions. So it was a wee bit... so there is that additional pressure when it comes to those sorts of questions.
Yeah. Interestingly, thinking about your teams, then, if you're kind of well matched, I don't know what the producers do in terms of kind of matching teams up, whether making them kind of level or very different, etc. But when you were putting the team together, and Liam, I understand you were in some way involved in kind of supporting the team, and Will, I believe you had some of the previous Birmingham folk, John Robinson and
Yeah, we had a little bit. Yeah.
What benefit do you get from the experience of others when you're preparing for the show?
For us, I would say limited, to be totally honest, because we sort of knew how it worked. Because I'd been on the team the year before, but we'd not got onto the TV bit. And I'd also done Eggheads as well, so I'd been on TV once. So I vaguely knew what was going on. And then once you're there, it's a matter of just like trying to calm yourself down, trying to understand what's going on. But when you're there, the questions, for me, felt like just any other quiz, really. You just sort of get in the zone. You forget there's a million cameras facing you and there's another team sitting next to you. I didn't feel like it was that much. Obviously, John's amazing. Not going to take anything away from John, but
what you're saying is actually is nothing quite prepares you for actually being in the studio and being faced by all of that. Yeah, it's that same sort of experience for yourselves in Aberdeen.
I mean, it was the first time ever for any of us, I think, could be in on a television quiz. So there was that additional pressure because when you're doing your OQL, when you're doing all those sorts of competitions, you're testing your battle against folk who have done that sort of thing. But until they stick a television camera in front of you, you don't really feel it, and it's so there is that additional pressure. Will's absolutely right in that front. But yeah, it's sometimes if you can click out of that and go, right, okay, this is just like any other quiz. It's just like a Wednesday in OQL. It's just like my local pub quiz. Once you treat it like that, then you can get into the groove of things.
Yeah, Liam, how did you help them with this team? What was your contribution?
Well, obviously, I was on Countdown a couple of years back. So, firstly, just giving them the do's and don'ts of being on TV was always a good start. And then, obviously, we had the buzzer quiz down in Birmingham last year, the OQL buzzer quiz, and I was one of the readers there. So I had something like 1,200 questions or something ridiculous throughout the.
You read about 500 to me.
Well, I did. As I said, I read to you most of the day. Well, it felt like you were constantly in my room. So yeah, it was basically running through the buzzer sets, even right until the night before. I think we were on Zoom until 11:30, quarter to midnight the night before.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the night before Liam was calling in from Aberdeen. Everybody was just in my hotel room, and we were just going over the buzzer quizzes, just going over an old OQL buzzer sets, just to run through it, and that was our practice.
That kind of thing helps though, because it meant the team could then figure out kind of who was strong and what kind of categories, and who kind of, if they weren't buzzing in quickly, then it clearly wasn't in their wheelhouse, and then somebody else would take ownership from there. But they always kind of were able to put together who to expect the answer from initially, and if they didn't come quickly, then they knew that one of the rest of them had to step up accordingly. So yeah, it was good fun. I quite enjoyed the kind of build up to it. Thankfully, I did swear Callum to secrecy, so I literally had no idea the result today and oncoming episodes. So this is brand new information to me.
Brilliant. Did either of the teams practice with real buzzers in the run up? Because it's kind of one thing like pressing your space bar, or even you've got apps on the phone and pressing it. It's quite another. The sort of buzzer, your physical buzzer, you press in the studio. We saw somebody last year break a buzzer by wellying it too fast. Did any of you practice with a physical buzzer like you face in UC?
I mean, that would have been a shot though.
Yeah, no, we just use the app, as you say, but it's one of those things because Donald Anderson, who was on the RGU team last year, he was saying that he told us after the show actually that one of the things that he did was he kind of pressed it about a quarter of the way in, because it was a really stiff buzzer. I mean, I noticed myself watching it back that there was a lot of times where I was just going, really pressing into the buzzer, because I did find it quite stiff. I mean, even I've done a couple of quiz bowls in person and that sort of stuff back when I was at Queen's, but it was a really stiff buzzer I found. So
you mean actually on the set?
Yeah. How about you, Will? Did you do any physical practice?
Yeah, we have a set of buzzers kindly sent to us by UK Quiz Bowl, but they are very soft, and this is not an excuse at all, but on the show we found them so stiff, like you had to absolutely like smack them all the way down. And the Aberdeen team were just way quicker than us on the day. Some of the kind of football one, that I was slow on that. The history one, really slow. So that we were used to just having to like absolutely just skim it and it buzzes. Whereas in this, just couldn't quite get them going.
So the bit of prep teams are going to have to do for next series. There's some weight training, some get the.
I'll get back to your team at weights.
But Michael puts in here, getting used to buzzing in for questions is another thing to get used to, because outside of shows on TV and a few high-level buzzer quizzes, it's not much practice you can get on using buzzers. So I guess within yourselves you can, and the student circuit there is. But again, it's one thing buzzing when there's nothing at stake, and it's quite another when your team loses points. And what I was impressed by on your team, Will, was Ahmed, who did a couple of negs in a row, and that didn't put him off diving in for another one straight after, because it'd be the easiest thing in the world to hide at that point.
He's very confident. He does. He's take a hit to make a hit, I suppose. But there was one he was a bit frustrated with. I can't remember what it was. Something like Bargy or Boona or something like that.
Boona, yeah.
We looked up afterwards, and like they do come from the same words in some language. So it was sort of, he wasn't entirely wrong when he buzzed in, but it wasn't where the question was going.
Anyway, which is what Emily said.
I was impressed because I think it does take a lot to come back from it. And the problem here is that I only noted down surnames. So Zach, are you Eisler or?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nominate Eisler.
Nominate Eisler.
By the way, but no, I noted that the subtitlers had put me down as Kyle McClements. Now, I don't know if my Fermanagh accent is that strong, but hopefully that's going to get corrected in the subtitles or whatever. But when you've got a Fermanagh accent, a sprinkling of dark here, and the accent thickens, it does get a wee bit like that. But anyway, so there it is.
Yeah. So, but I think on your side, Zach, you were the only one to get an egg. So you're the only one here that we've got.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
I think there were buzzes after the question, but not. So it was the Jackson Pollock one. Yeah.
No, he did not.
No.
No. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So again, that didn't stop you. You buzzed in early for Pollock. It was Mondrian, but then you still come in. Mitford Sisters, a very nice early buzz on Orientalism. Stuart 1610s Paleolithic. What was your mental reaction to getting an egg, Zach? Was it just kind of brush it off, focus on the next question? Did it affect you in any way?
Obviously it's disappointing, but I would try not to let it affect me too much.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say, you were absolutely brilliant at the buzzers, because you were just rattling them off, because you were a fairly novice. I know since you've joined, not to trivial your suit, but exactly. But Zach was a novice, no prior quiz experience, but just rattling them off. Zach was absolutely brilliant out there. So
yeah,
I think
there might have been another one. There was an adjudication which was the general's problem.
You might be right, yeah.
That went to something like a 20-minute VAR decision.
Really?
Yeah, they tried to take the time on that one, yeah.
So that's an interesting one, because broadly, University Challenge is played through as we see it, isn't it? It's like clock starts. There might be the occasional stop the clock and restart it. But a big adjudication like that must have been, okay, does Byzantine take this out of the equation? Presumably must have been the discussion they had. Does that disrupt you, or when that's going on, or is it just an opportunity to just relax a little bit?
Well, from my perspective, you just got to keep that sort of thing to the back of your mind and just get on with the rest of the quiz. But that's just my 2 cents.
Whereas Will, you picked up that buzz, so you must have been thinking, I hope they rule in my favour.
I can't remember exactly what we did in that break, but I think Archie looked over and sort of nodded as if that's wrong and I know the right answer. So I think he was pretty sure it was not going to go. Like, obviously, perhaps he didn't know every single name for that problem, but he was pretty sure that was coming back to us, and he was like, "Don't worry, I've got it." So, I just sort of sat back and was like, "You take it if you're confident with it."
Yeah, it's a great quiz, as I was saying, a great match, and let's say Aberdeen pulled away at the end, a string of four buzzes, 5 out of the last 6, which kind of perhaps made the difference look bigger than actually most of the gameplay was for the rest of the show. But as we know that you can have exactly the same knowledge, but if somebody's fractionally quicker than you can rack up the points. But Aberdeen did very, very well in that. Was there anything, having watched it your whole lives with Jeremy Paxman, was there anything that kind of surprised you about the new regime, that from the set to the host to the pace of it? How was it compared to how you imagined it would be?
Well, not gonna lie, when I saw the set, it had a bit of a sci-fi vibe to it, so I was kind of like, "Ooh, new set," because we were kind of told backstage that there would be a new set. So going on to the new set, it was a wee bit different to what we imagined. Not gonna lie, but no, it was just as we did, but in some ways similar. I would say it is the same quiz. University Challenge has had a format which has been largely unchanged since it started in 1962. So when you get used to that, right, okay, bang, right, okay, right, we're straight in here, and that's the gist of it. Once you get that, then you know what you're doing. You've got a job there to do, and you just kind of.
Will, how about from your side of things? Anything surprise you about the experience? I think only for me. I mean, Amalrajan seemed quite nervous to me. Obviously, because I'm not sure I should tell you this, but that was the first episode that he did. Right. So that was filmed first, and you could tell that he sort of had read up about it. It meant quite a lot to him, which I think is a good thing. And obviously, all the players had watched it for years, so it meant a lot to us. But the fact that he seems like not really sure which way it was going to go. Like he was, the first 2 episodes, it doesn't seem like it'll be like this, but it could just be like a 1 series flop, and so they bring someone else in a year. But I'm sure that won't happen. So I think just although he's been on TV for years, sort of him understanding what the show means to people and like being a bit nervous with it, I think shocked me a little bit. Interesting that because that was the first one filmed, because last week when I watched it, I was pretty sure that probably wasn't the first one filmed because it was too close a show to have then fluked it being the first one they recorded. But I noticed when he was reading, he was fiddling with a pen, and tonight he wasn't doing that, but he kind of was fiddling with his fingers. So it is quite something to be carrying a show like this with all the history, with all the attention, etc. Liam, not having played it, watching it tonight and watching it perhaps last week, how do you feel that the new regime is looking?
I mean, the set's certainly taken a bit of getting used to. I mean, Al himself, he was a little bit fiddly. I know what you mean with the fact that he had the pen last week. I mean, I kind of compare it a bit too, because when I was on Countdown, I had Dan Robinson as my host. And, oh my God. I genuinely went to refilm, I reshoot so much of that episode, and that was not, for the first time being on TV, not what you want, because it just didn't put you at ease at all, because she just hadn't got a clue. So, I've obviously spoke to them a couple of times about things that were reshot and whatnot as well, and kind of relayed my experiences. And I think it's just part and parcel of being on TV, to be perfectly honest. I mean, not everything's going to be perfect. And he's coming across fine. I think he will settle into a groove. I think we'll see that to come in the episodes going forward. But you do pick up the first few. He's been a little bit fiddly, to say the least. And as for the new set, I'm not really sold yet.
No, the set and that big monstrosity hiding his screen hasn't gone down well. But actually, he does seem to be otherwise hosting it fine. Michael is saying he was a bit OTT with his reaction to plantain being given as an answer. But otherwise,
We all gave an OTT reaction here as well.
I know. Probably just a past match moments, but when there was one where Emily nominated Zach on the Shakespeare, and Zach was just there. The whole there's a couple of my course mates were there, and my parents were there, and there's the whole room just erupted in laughter at that one. So it's just a decent enough moment, but I'll say it's just one of those ones. In terms of, I can sort of half remember from the time, but the Plantain moment was iconic. But it's just one of those things. I mean,
the thing is, when you're in that situation, you're better to throw out something than nothing, and there is always a risk that you're going to look a little bit silly.
I think it was Joey Goldman a couple of years back was saying, well, might as well say something, and that's just a philosophy, and if you have that philosophy, then go for it.
Absolutely, and I think that works on any quiz show where there's no penalty for putting an answer out, because the worst thing in the world is saying nothing but having the right answer in your head. So you might as well chuck something out there.
Mm-hmm.
Before we move on, just were there any questions that you particularly enjoyed, or any bonus sets that you particularly enjoyed tonight? Personally, Angela Lansbury, loved that. William Bly. But any of those where you're particularly pleased to have got them, or you felt that you kind of worked really well as a team? William, well, this is hard for you if you haven't watched it.
I remember bits. I think the sort of geography one, which I got on the buzzer, was probably a good one. And I must admit, the other one, the Andrew Marvell one, I only got that because we did a practice with John like a few days before, and that question came up. So that was a bit lucky, I must admit. But because literature is our weak point, so for us to get a literature question fairly early on was was nice for us. But I was a bit disappointed by the F1 one, as you were saying before. It's like I knew it. I know I knew it, but I just didn't say anything for the France one, and that was definitely because obviously that's like 40 years ago. So I thought, there must be a more recent winner than that, and so I said nothing, and it was just a bit frustrating. But other than that, I thought the questions were pretty fair for both teams.
Yeah. Zach, Callum, any that it could be any of your buzzes, could be any of your bonus questions. Anything that you particularly, looking back, having watched it tonight, you're particularly proud of?
The German fairy tales one worked very much in my favor, because I studied German at uni alongside history. It was annoying that I didn't get Rapunzel, because it's obvious if you see that it was talking about a tower, Turm in German. I said Sleeping Beauty, I think, but I got the other two, so that was good.
Yeah.
From my perspective, we talked about the medical ones earlier, but sport would be my strong suit usually in quiz. So in an academic quiz like University Challenge, it doesn't really come up that often. But somebody pointed out on Twitter that green and white are the county colours of Fermanagh in Gaelic games. So somebody said, it's true, Fermanagh man McLennan's gotten the green and white question correct. So I was just... So that was that. So out with the kind of medical questions, that was kind of the to get the green weights. Did for my proud.
You all got some good buzzes. What is that feeling when you get that first buzz and you know that you're not going to be kind of at the end of the show with kind of nothing to show against your name? Does it kind of, is there almost a kind of thanks, got that out of the way and can concentrate, or does it not bother you? Will, you're nodding?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we're going into it, we had realistic expectations. We wanted to win a match or two, but we knew we weren't going to win the whole thing, in reality. So we all said we wanted to get on the team, get on the show, get one starter each, and get to 100 points. That was the goal. So then you don't really. I'm not saying if you don't get 100, that's embarrassing or anything, but that was to sort of be a good level, and then we can all have our moment where Amal Rajan goes, blah, blah, blah. You hit the buzzer. They say your name. You get it right. And then there's a round of applause. And forever you have that moment. So, I think the first one especially was good.
Yeah. Callum, same for you?
For Roger telling to say Aberdeen McLennan's, well, I hadn't quite imagined it to be Aberdeen. I mean, obviously, having growing up in rural West Ulster, it could have been anywhere with Clemens, but no, it's for that was just surreal to hear that, and just it's really to open your account is really good to be able to get the first buzz in, and just really sells nerves that because I mind the green and white question. I got that, but it was a lot later than I'd imagined it watching back, if that makes sense. And then I got a couple of others like the helium and gypsum question after I'd imagine that being a wee bit earlier on in the show, and then but no, it was just once you get that, then your nerves are settled, and you can get on with the rest of the quiz after that. It's just it's about like if a cricketer gets the first couple of runs or whatever, sells them, or if a hurler gets the first point or whatever, then that's they're up and running.
Yeah, absolutely. And Zach, you had a bit of a gift then. We heard from the players from Only Connect that they felt lots of things were falling their way. If you got that German translation one, of course, you had less time to see it than we had tonight watching you. But that must have felt absolute beauty for you to be able to get off the mark on.
Yeah, there is a real rush when things start going your way, you start getting the points in.
Absolutely.
You're not going to embarrass yourself, which is the main thing, I think.
Yeah, well, and none of you did. Every single player got buzzes, so you can have that kind of that positive takeaway from it. You did break your 100-point total target, Will. So again, 125. I have a feeling this is going to be probably not enough, but
no comment.
Who knows? But no, 190 was a very good winning score. So we will get to see you again, Aberdeen, which is brilliant. We are going to have just a very quick spell looking at quiz news. And when we come back, I will ask you what your champagne moment of the night was. And it can be from University Challenge, or it can be from Only Connect, or it can be, I don't know, Tipping Point, if you watch that. So whatever your champagne moment of the night was, your favourite moment by you, by somebody else, whatever it is, we will catch up on that. But for now, I'm just going to run through some of the quiz news from the past week, if my mouse will work, which it doesn't appear to want to. Valerie, can you add the presentation to the stream? Michael wants more Tipping Point news. Here we go. So adding that to the screen. So quiz week news. So firstly, last week's quiz of the week and team of the week. Jonathan Elliott was first quiz of the week. I think Jonathan got a full house. Emma Laslick got a full house in OQL USA, and Gavigan got joint top score in pop solos in America. Team of the week was Don't Be Dim Jules for their performance in OQL. Second, Manchester University for their win on University Challenge, and third was Dartologists. Moving on to the next one. So our Quizzer of the Week nominations are Scott Blish. Last night, you may have seen it on Online Quiz League on their YouTube channel or Twitch, but it was the final of the International Culture Challenge. It was Scott Blish versus Evan Lynch, Dowd Jackson, and Mark Grant. Spoiler alert, Scott Blish won on the very last question. It was the only time that he was ahead in the match. He now holds both the International Culture Challenge and the Pop Solos title concurrently. So Scott Blish gets a nomination. Brian Davis got an OQL full house this week. Marianne Fairthorne, Quiz League London Summer Friendly League full house. Charlie Fritz, OQL USA full house, as did Sean Griffin, Quentin Holt, and Dowd Jackson both got QLL full houses. Dave Mattingly and Alison McManus both got 12 out of 15, which were the highest scores in Pop Solos this week, along with Drew Sheeler as well. And Paddy Pammon got a QLL Summer Friendly League full house. Moving on to Team of the Week. And nominees, Aberdeen, obviously, for winning the University Challenge match tonight. Mangoes, who were crowned this week OQL champions. North-South Axis, who were the top scorers in Quiz Nations. Portugal this week, Sandy Shore Jam. They got 2 wins in Quiz League of London Summer Friendly League with bonus point both times. Stitchers for winning Only Connect tonight. Team name coming soon for sure. Top scorers in OQL USA. And Motley Crew, who beat OQL USA's Division 2 national leaders. Michael in the chat is saying only full house in OQL last week for Brian Davis. Vote Brian. So the campaigning has started already. Other quiz news. Don't forget, you can nominate people and teams for Quiz Room Team of the Week at tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations. And open for applications. There are some competitions currently recruiting for players. So Connections Online Quiz League, if you like Only Connect and you want to play that, you can apply at quizcentral.net. Flames is a Mimir competition on the pop culture side of the spectrum. You can go to tinyurl.com/flames sign up. And Pop Culture Challenge, OQL's Pop Culture Mimir competition at quizcentral.net. They're all open for entries now. We are between seasons with the Asian Quiz League, Online Quiz League, and Quiz Nations Asia Pacific, which means that they will be accepting teams applying for them, if not now, very soon. At the bottom, note that all of our links at All Things Quiz are now in Linktree at linktr.ee/allthingsquiz. That's how you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, anything else that we want, any bandwagon we want to jump on, we will be there. I haven't put Mastodon on, but hey, I can't even remember what our login details are for that. So if you want to find us, you can find anything to do with us. The link to the nominations, anything is all on there. And don't forget, if you like what we do, any of these videos, any of these live streams, then click like. And if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. And upcoming events, we've got a Quest Grand Prix on 7th of August, 9th of September, if you're into some of the darker sides of facts and quizzing. Brain of Grizzly Quizly is a one-day event, all about the Grizzly side of life. And 23rd of September is OQL's next individual championships. Coming up in America, SporkleCon on the 8th to 10th of September. 3rd to 5th of November is the International Quizzing Championships in Torremolinos. And 2nd to 3rd of December, the Asia Pacific Quiz Championships in Colombo, Sri Lanka. I think that is everything. Let's see if I can remove the presentation. I can get in there. My mouse has decided to work. So, on that bombshell, let's ask you what your favorite moments were from tonight, your champagne moments. Will, you were living it up on a gondola earlier this afternoon. Now you're in a hotel room talking about a quiz that you vaguely remember from months ago. What is your favorite recollection from that? And it can be absolutely anything. A question that was asked, an answer that was given, anything behind the scenes. It could be anything.
Well, I haven't watched the quiz all night, I must admit. I don't even know. That's hard. Highlight. I don't know. I think getting the first one in the practice round, because then I was like, I'm the first person ever to get a question right from Abel Rajan. So not that it got aired. Not that anyone will remember that. So,
but Will, you know that, yeah.
I know that,
yeah. No, that's good. That's good. Callum, how about you?
I'll be honest, from the time, I think, honestly, the whole gypsum helium, I didn't know that question, but I kind of had the most skill because I read a question on that back in the day. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I thought, hold on a second, let's just say something. If it's wrong, it's wrong because it's tasked with science questions. It was after the night cut off, so bang, okay, helium, and just so that was that. But no, Zach especially was brilliant in the buzzers. So just any buzzer he got right, I would say was the champagne moment happening on reflection.
Wonderful, Zach, your personal champagne moment.
My favorite moment, I guess it would actually be one behind the scenes. We all decided we should do like a bit of team bonding or something. So on the way down to Salford, we stopped at this it's like adventure playground kind of place.
Go away in people's eyes.
Which has the highest zip line in Scotland, which we all went on. That was good fun.
That was our mistake.
You need to get the adrenaline rush for that. That's the thing. Just really got the adrenaline rush for
you have a bit of a fear of heights, if I recall correctly, Callum. You still got on the zip line.
Sounds like that on the air.
But you still got it was a good moment.
I mean, it could have gone hideously wrong, and we could have had Callum just dangling there midair like Boris Johnson did, waving the University of Aberdeen flag.
Dangling off the zip wire, so
bring the reserve in.
Can
I play by app?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to keep both hands on the zip wire at all times.
Brilliant. And Liam, as an observer to tonight's quizzing, what was your favourite moment?
Nominate Eisler.
Nice. Well, it was a really good match following off the back of last week's excellent match. So thank you to both teams for the entertainment that we had tonight. Hard luck to Birmingham. But at least you got to be on University Challenge. There are many of us who have never had that opportunity. And so that's pretty
Can I just say, it's my mum's birthday. She's next door. So happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday. Gerard, we'll have him singing happy birthday in the chat.
Please don't.
And Aberdeen, brilliant performance, great win. And we look forward to seeing you in round 2, which is round 2 the one where you get 2 shots at it? I lose track of this competition.
No, this is die dog or shout the license. If you lose, you're out. That's it. It's
right.
quarterfinals, which is where you have the 2 shots.
Right. Yes.
So,
yeah.
It is the
sudden death.
So no high scoring losers. So we see you in that high stakes Jeopardy coming up, which is fantastic. So we look forward to that. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Michael has reminded me of a comment he made earlier, which was his personal champagne moment. I'm just going to see if I can find it. It was in Only Connect. Gave what will be my favourite answer of the season tonight on the Rainbow one with Chelsea Pitney after the wrestler Chelsea Green, and the infamous wrong answer on Potmaster Green Pitney. Well, there you go, Michael, with your very niche answer, but yes, nice. Enjoyed that question. My personal highlight, I do think it was the person in Only Connect answering monkey tennis when they didn't have an answer. That's just brilliant presence of mind to throw out a comedy answer. So well done to them. We will be back next week. So thanks to everybody who's been chatting away in the chat. Thanks to our guests, to Will, Callum, Liam, Zach, and earlier to Thea and Rachel. Don't know who the guests will be, although I think Lewis Jones will probably have his arm twisted to be with us. Don't forget you can vote for What Is Question at tinyurl.com/WITQLion. You can vote for Quizzer and Team of the Week at tinyurl.com/QW24Joule2023. All 23. All of that we will be putting out on Facebook and Twitter as well, so that you can be voting. And we will announce the winners on Friday. Until next week. Thanks once again. Oh, there you go. She's already put it in the chat. She's so efficient. God damn it. We will be back next week. Thank you, everybody, for coming on, and have a great week. And see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Gareth. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Oh, you might need to end the stream. Here we are.